All right, that'll do. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Here in Cleveland, it's a really Cleveland kind of winter day, but it's so beautiful out because we got a nice little dusting of fluffy snow. And so I'm looking out at all of these covered branches and got my twinkle lights on in my window, and it just feels, even though it's really gray, it feels kind of like a bright day. So I maybe this morning we would just do a super lazy roll around. Um, Almost as if like when you're waking up in the morning, you don't have anywhere to go, you don't have anything to do just yet, and you take a little bit of time just to move and stretch your body in the ways that it wants to be moved. So if you have supports, it would be really nice to bring those in. I'm going to use something like a pillow or a cushion today and a couple of blocks. If you have blankets around, it might be nice to grab a hold of some blankets. We're really only going to be at this for like 20 minutes or so, but it's funny, like I think sometimes I talk myself out of short practices like these because I'm like, it's not going to do that much. But that's really not true. 20 minutes is great. So let's take a couple of moments to get ourselves situated. I'm going to sit up on my cushion here. And I thought we would get started with a a bound angle pose or a butterfly pose. So the soles of the feet are together, the knees are out wide. If you need some blocks underneath your thighs or your calves, this might be a nice time to grab those and place them there. And we're just gonna fold in on ourselves here. Good. We're going to practice mostly yin poses today, and just by their very nature, they're super meditative. Right. Ideally, you're moving towards some amount of stillness. And it doesn't mean that you don't shift or adjust at certain points, but the idea is to just kind of be fine where you are. Good. So letting your head drop down. Notice the way things feel in your lower back. Both of your hips. Your upper back and your middle back. And take notice of the way the breath kind of expands the back of your rib cage. And what happens to your whole torso when you breathe out? And we'll take about another 10 deep breaths here. Good. 3 breaths more. All right, and then just start to lift yourself up and out of this. And we'll extend the left leg out nice and long here. We're going to kind of tuck that right foot in towards the pelvic floor. You can keep the block underneath your leg or just kind of let it come down, whatever works. And then let's turn towards that left leg and just take a little bit of a fold over that leg. If sitting up gives you a lot of sensation in the back of the leg, then just sit up. There's no reason to fold forward if it's not really feeling good for you. If it feels good, sink into it. We'll just take like 5 or 6 breaths over this leg. Good. Take notice of the right side of your lower back. You notice your belly and let your belly move a little bit with your breath. And 2 more breaths. Alrighty, and then just start to sit yourself up. Let's take the other side. So just cross that left ankle in towards your pelvis, extend the right leg nice and long, and take the turn, folding over that right leg. And here it might be nice to just kind of, notice the lower back again. Right near the top of your pelvis. What's it like on this side? Is this side any different from that side? Good. A few more big breaths here. Nice. All right, go ahead and sit yourself up in the middle. And then we'll end up rolling down onto our backs. So as you find your back, grab a hold of one of your supports, whether it's a cushion, pillow from your bed, a block. Maybe you have a bolster or something like that. We're just going to come to lie down, lift the hips, and slide the block underneath the pelvis, the back of the pelvis. And let's just settle here for a few breaths. Bringing your attention down really low into the pelvis. How do things feel around your hip points? Good. Take notice of how things feel in the lower back, head and neck. Good, and then let's extend the left leg out long on the floor here, if that's okay with your low back and your hip. You can keep that right knee bent if you want to. Good, hang on to this for just a couple breaths. Really let that left leg relax if you can. Sometimes when we extend that leg long, the foot starts to flex or tense up a little bit, so wiggle your toes. Might be nice to extend your left arm past your head, or even both arms past your head, and clasp your elbows. Good, trying to be soft here. And notice the sound of your breath and the speed of your breath. And the weight of your head, and the weight of your pelvis. And 2 more breaths with your left leg out long. And then just go ahead and move your arms if they're overhead. Cross them over your chest briefly. Doesn't really matter which arm is on top. You're going to rebend that left knee, place the sole of the foot on the floor, and just kind of sit here for a moment. You're going to take notice which arm is on top. Just make a mental note of that. Good. Another breath or two. And now extend that right leg out long if that works for your back and your hip. Okay, take a moment to just kind of allow yourself to loosen up, maybe wiggle your toes. You can take your hands onto your hips again if you want to. And this side will also be just a little bit different. None of us are the same side to side. If we are, that's like amazing, but it's not reality for most of us. We all have like a weird side. Okay, so notice your weird side. Maybe this is the not so weird side. And just breathe deeply here, or to whatever depth feels appropriate for you. Sometimes when we're stressed out, or just kind of like on the edge of feeling overwhelmed, deep breathing can actually be a not such a wonderful thing. It can actually trigger deeper feelings of activation or bigger feelings of activation instead of promoting calm, which is what we think it does. So if you're stressed, don't stress out about taking big breaths. Just breathe. It's okay if they're shallow. The whole idea, though, is to notice them, to really get to know what your breath is all about. It's kind of like the magic key. Our breath says a lot about other aspects of our bodies and our minds. Just a couple more breaths, and you might extend that right arm long and past your head. Or maybe there's a clasping of elbows overhead, and if you decide to do that, make sure you're clasping them the way that doesn't feel right, the weird way, as Margaret, who teaches at Abide, would say. Good, and just let your body breathe. Give it space. Good, just a couple more breaths here. And then let's take the arms back across the chest. Remember which one was on top the last time, and put the other one on top. Let's bring the soles of the feet down to the floor just for one brief moment. Really sink into this one. Good, and then go ahead and uncross the arms if they're over your chest. Pick up your hips, take that support out of there. And then let's just scoot the hips over to the left, and we'll take a little twist to the right. And it's early for me to be practicing. Usually my body needs a little bit more time to kind of like warm up. So if your lower back needs some support, if it feels a little twingy, place something in between your knees. Or maybe even something underneath your left shoulder if you want to. Just letting your body soften into this shape. Let's take 10 breaths or so. This time in your twist, just listen. with your ears to the sounds in the room around you. And listening to the sounds that are outside of the room that you're in. Maybe you're listening to something going on outside your window. This morning I hear birds. And I listen to your breath again. And one more of those breaths. And then we'll just kind of lazily roll this over to the other side. So when you're ready, bring your knees back up through the center, pick up your hips, scoot them off to the right, and drop your knees over to the left. Noticing if this is the weird shoulder or hip. And feel free always to kind of scoot yourself into a more comfortable position. For me, that usually means that in this particular pose, I'd be shifting my left shoulder over to the left. So the shoulder a little closer to the knee, but everybody is different. Maybe your knees want to be up high, maybe they want to be down low. And take your time to kind of wiggle into it. We'll have about 10 breaths here. Good. And for these last few breaths, just notice what you feel underneath you and what parts of your body are really connected to the floor. The parts of your body now that are expanding with your breath, lifting you up a little bit. Good. Just a couple more breaths here. Awesome. And then as you feel good and ready, just roll onto your back. And if you'd like to take a reclined bound angle pose, soles of the feet together, knees wide, or shavasana for a couple of minutes, you might do that. Maybe it's constructive rest with your feet touching the floor, your knees pointing up. Just a few more moments for grounding. You need a few more moments to kind of steady yourself. And I know there are parts of my day where I definitely make an effort to breathe consciously. And that's most days, but some days I get to the end of the day and I'm like, I didn't do that once. So this little bit of practice in the morning can be such a nice way to make sure you get it in. Taking maybe another 10 conscious breaths here, really paying attention. Really noticing its natural depth, the way it sounds when you're not manipulating it. The parts of your body that are moving or frozen. And breathing in and out of your nose if possible. We'll just take 3 more breaths here. Good. And then if you would like to come out of this, you can do that rolling over to your side maybe, or just sitting right up. Again, it's your time. If you don't want to sit up, if you want to lay down for just a little while longer, you're certainly welcome to do that. Otherwise, let's take a moment to sit up nice and tall. Good. Oh, and how about a little heart massage today? Just a little something. You can just kind of take the heel edge of your hands and just like press in. Yeah. I've been super into this recently. Okay, just this little massage, the heart center. It sometimes gets a little like, I don't know, a little like closed off, a little curled in. And then maybe for good measure, we'll do a little belly rub too. You're just moving the hands across the belly, let your belly muscles soften a little bit. Good, and then hands together at the heart, honoring this time you spent taking care of yourself. Oh, it's really nice to be here this morning. I'll see you again really soon. Bye. Have a great day.